Seahawks beat writer for the News Tribune. Gregg Bell follows the Seahawks, and the Eagles make a trade with the Seahawks today. Greg, thanks for popping on board with us. Were you surprised, not that Bennett got traded, but that Philadelphia ended up being the partner?
A little bit. Hi, guys. A little bit. I'm a little bit surprised that it's for what looks like maybe a fourth wide receiver or a special teams wide receiver, an undrafted guy, Marcus Johnson, and a fifth-round pick. But it just goes to show you how tough it is to trade a 32-year-old, even one who's been to 3 straight Pro Bowls. And it also shows that it's as much about the Seahawks saving $2 million under the salary cap this year than it is about anything they're getting in return. The Seahawks are up against the cap here. They have about $12 million in working cap, not even counting the rookie pool, and that's heading into free agency next week. I think that's also why you're seeing the Richard Sherman reports of him possibly leaving. It would save them another $11 million. This is a team that's facing salary cap situations with players turning 30 years old, recently injured. Michael Bennett played through 3 injuries last year and still got 8.5 sacks, playing 85% of the snaps for Seattle. So you're still getting a productive pass rusher in Philadelphia. It's just one that was too expensive and too old for Seattle to keep.
A lot of people wondering, Michael Bennett has been kind of an outspoken guy, what kind of locker room guy he is. This is an Eagles team that won a Super Bowl based on the fact that they were in rotations. They didn't play the whole game. They rotated snaps. Do you see Bennett being a disruptive guy coming in here?
No, I don't. And I think that, I know that he was at his best, and the Seahawks defensive line was at its best in 2013 when they won the Super Bowl over Denver, when Bennett played only 60% of the snaps. And they just haven't had the depth and quality in the defensive line since then to keep Bennett's playing numbers in the 50 to 60% range. That's what he wanted. That's what the Seahawks needed. But he just couldn't do it the last couple of years. He was some games 90% of the time on the field because of Cliff Avrill's neck injury, because of the fact that a lot of the other defensive ends, Dwight Freeney's and people that they have signed the last couple of years, have not worked out. So I think at his age and the fact that he's got a toe that's almost a big toe that's almost sideways, he played through a torn plantar fascia on his foot, and he had a bum knee, a sore knee that he got in the Eagles game early last December. He played the last month on it. Those factors, he doesn't want to play 85% of the snaps at age 32. And that would fit the Eagles' scheme quite well.
Greg, when you look at this defense now in Seattle, and the last couple of years, you're kind of seeing the writing on the wall that it was getting time for this group to break apart. As exciting as they were and as productive that they were, it's just once guys see the quarterback get that type of money, they you start to see the writing on the wall. Is this the beginning of the end for the Seahawks kind of, Legion of Boom?
As we know it, yes. And I think Richard Sherman would be the next case, which would keep Earl Thomas and at least raise the possibility of Earl Thomas staying in Seattle behind the last year of his contract, which is this year too. Sherman and Thomas are both earning the last years of their deals. Cam Chancellor may never play again because of his neck injury. I already mentioned Cliff Avrill's career being in doubt. Now Michael Bennett's gone. The only core that's left, and it's no doubt that they're building around, is Bobby Wagner, the all-pro linebacker, and Russell Wilson, the franchise quarterback. Everybody else is fair game to either be traded or released because the Legion of Boom is not 25 anymore. And last year, the injuries, season-ending injuries, such as to Chancellor and to Sherman, showed that. And this team's not a playoff team anymore. Yeah, they went 9-7, but they missed the playoffs for the first time since 2011, 2012. And Pete Carroll has completely remade his coaching staff. 8 assistants gone, 6 brought in, 2 reassigned. A new offensive coordinator in Brian Schottenheimer from one of the Jets and Rams. New defensive coordinator Ken Norton coming back from Oakland. This is undoubtedly a team in transition, and it's just not the 25-year-old Legion of Boom anymore. And today's news underscores that.
So do the Seahawks want to go with a different identity starting next year? I mean, do they want to start kind of building around Russell Wilson and being more of an offensive team with the defense kind of complementing them? Or do they want to still, get younger on the defensive side of the football and keep that same kind of, we're a defensive team first that has a quarterback?
As long as Pete Carroll is the coach, they'll be a defensive first team in philosophy, in theory anyway. And that's what they're going to build around. They want to run the ball more than they did last year. They get the worst production in a long time in the NFL from running backs last year, and Russell Wilson's running was the only reason that Seattle was 25th in rushing. Otherwise, they would have been dead last. And that's part of the reason Schottenheimer's in, a new line coach is in. Pete Carroll wants it to be run and defense first. And Russell Wilson's experience in Super Bowls and big games, his ability to make plays to complement that. And that's when they made the 2 Super Bowls. That's what he did. The last couple of years, he's been the entire offense, at times 90% of their yardage for games. And it didn't work. They didn't make the playoffs doing it that way. And they have to get younger on defense because, as I mentioned, all the core that they've re-upped once are all now into their 30s, 29, 30, 31 years old. So it's no doubt a transitioning team. It happens in the NFL all the time. And this move of Bennett and possibly Sherman going speak a little more toward the philosophy that the New England Patriots have had of getting rid of a guy 1 year early rather than 1 year too late. New England, of course, has built a dynasty doing that. And the Seahawks' issue right now is they don't know who they have behind the unproven defensive backs. They drafted Delano Hill and Tedrick Thompson last year. Are they ready to step into the secondary? Not yet. They in theory, would like to replace their Legion of Boom. Right now, there's nobody on the shelf to do that quite yet, and there's certainly no one proven.
Gregg Bell's with us here, covers the Seahawks for the News Tribune. He joins us on 97.3 ESPN, the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. We'll leave you with this, Greg. You know, Bennett's 32, going to be 33. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's been a very good player out there. Do you still think that he is a high-level player?
I do, and he's at his best. And I think the Eagles will do this as well. They know this. When they move him inside and create matchups on third downs. He doesn't play defensive end on every down, or he hasn't the last few years here. He's been an outside early down, and then going into tackle over slower, overmatched guards and centers on third downs. And I think that's what Philadelphia is probably planning on doing. They have a deeper defensive line than Seattle had last year, and he has been productive. I mean, 24 quarterbacks hits last year. He's had, I think it's now third most in the NFL hits, only behind J.J. Watt and Carlos Dunlap the last 5 years. He had a 10 half-sack season a couple of years ago. He's been to 3 straight Pro Bowls. It's not like his production has fallen off the map all of a sudden. Now, the Seahawks are banking on the fact that it's going to happen sooner than later. He hasn't played one down of the 3-year extension he signed in 2016. That was to begin here this year, and that's what the Eagles are inheriting. The Seahawks gave him that deal for $17.5 million to keep him happy at the time, but he's still got 3 years under contract. Now, I'm not saying he's going to play all 3 of those years for the Eagles, but if he plays a fewer number of snaps than he played in Seattle last year, he has a good chance of doing that. He's a very productive player. He is very polarizing to fans. I think you're going to like how outspoken he is on anything and everything. He answers every question straightforwardly, and he doesn't beat around any bushes, and he will rankle some feathers there, so to speak. I think he's going to be very entertaining and very insightful as well.
All right, Gregg Bell covers the Seahawks. The Eagles acquire Michael Bennett today for Marcus Johnson and a 5th-round pick. A 7th-rounder also comes with Bennett to Philadelphia. Greg, we appreciate it.
Okay, take care, guys.